Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today saw a broken system when it comes to solid waste and recycling, so he's on a mission to reduce the waste going into landfills and created a composting subscription service to support the local food systems. Please welcome the founder of O-Town Compost, Charlie Pioli. What's going on, Charlie?
Hey, Biggie. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, man, thank you so much. Thanks for taking some time, having lunch with me. What's out of curiosity, what's your usual go-to sandwich or lunch?
If I'm feeling like I want something special, I'll try to get a caprese sub with some prosciutto. But otherwise, I'll just scrounge up whatever I can find.
No, hey, and that's usually how I use on a day to day. I find it funny because obviously everyone always wants to eat like the amazing meals, but on a day to day we kind of know how it is, right? It's like, especially when you're running a business, it's like I eat what I can find and kind of go from there. So tell people a little bit about how you started O-Town Compost. I know you started it in 2020, but I know that there's a backstory to how it all kind of came about. So tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, the reason I live in Orlando now is my first job out of college brought me down here to start working as a waste consultant. But in reality, that meant I was doing waste characterization studies and sorting a lot of trash and recyclables at landfills, recycle centers around the country. So, with that firsthand insider look at how our country manages waste, I was disenchanted and I really wanted to find a better solution. So I felt like the best solution was to target the lion's share of what's going in the garbage, which is the organic waste portion, and recycle it.
So I'll be honest with you. I kind of want to make sure that people have a better understanding on some of this idea of when it comes to organic waste and recycling, because obviously people will tell you, I'll use me as a layman, will be like, well, I put my stuff in the trash and I recycle my plastic. So give people a breakdown of what that means, because I know from me learning and reading just about what you guys do, the amount of waste that you guys are working with and doing. Give people a little bit of a breakdown of what that means and obviously this is a lunch break, so I don't want you to go so deep, but I want you to be able to at least be able to paint a picture for someone to understand what you guys are doing and what brought you to the point of saying, hey, I want to start Orlando Compost.
Yeah. So, let me start by saying that I just learned last week from some officials with Orange County's government that the Orange County landfill only has 20 years left of capacity. And that basically means that we have 20 years to continue to, dispose of our garbage in this landfill until it gets capped and shut down. And then we have two options after that. We can either truck it farther away to another county's landfill, or the county could buy out farmers and turn pristine virgin land into a toxic, contaminated site. And once a landfill is capped, there's nothing you can do with it to the end of time. Practically no one wants to build on it. No ecosystems are really going to thrive in it. So it's unfortunate, and the key to it, the answer that we're all looking for, is not some silver bullet machine or digester or technology. It's simply diverting and educating people how to source separate their waste, and yeah, it's a cultural shift that needs to happen.
And one of the things I think I've read from what you is like, and I think I saw on social, like organic waste comprised of like 50% of what the county sends to landfill. So give people an example of exactly, because obviously what you guys are doing, because obviously you have said, hey, I want to kind of create something that allows for people to improve the situation. And actually, obviously, this stuff will break these organic waste will break down, become into, as you call, black and gold, the good stuff, like the good dirt that's good for farmers. So tell people a little bit about what exactly is, I guess, organic waste. Like if you're throwing out
Mhm.
trash, give people some ideas. I know like things like banana peels and things like that, but give people a better idea of what that means. Like so when they're thinking of throwing trash out, in their day to day, they could be like, oh, I can actually be composting these things.
Yeah, so we look at organic waste, which, by the way, is the lion's share of what we're sending to the landfill of our garbage, about 45-50%. We look at organic waste as a resource, not as trash or garbage that, just needs to disappear. What we do is, we collect food waste, which is, the large part of organic waste, but yard waste is an example of organic waste. Paper towels that are uncoated. Um, they're wood and bamboo utensils, paper straws. But we look at it, as something that can replenish Central Florida's soils. Right now, if you're a gardener in Central Florida, you notice that your soil is very sandy, and we want to kind of build that topsoil. So we haul out all our organic waste to local farmers in East Orlando, and they process it with their front end loaders and turn it into that compost. And the key to composting is oxygen. So that's why it's important to turn it, and it breaks down naturally. Whereas in a landfill, every day they cover the trash with a layer of dirt, and it kind of mummifies the organic waste. It doesn't break down naturally, and it in that anaerobic environment without oxygen, it releases methane into the atmosphere, which is 85 times more potent of a greenhouse gas than just regular carbon, CO2.
How did you come up? So obviously you saw a problem and then you said, I want to do something about it. So like what was the trigger and how did you start to be like, I want to start O-Town Compost? Like how did that start? Because I saw pictures, like, obviously you guys have some trucks now and stuff like that, but you already just originally had it like in the trunk of your car picking up. So like tell people a little bit about like kind of like what led you to and how you kind of started that and be like, this is how you want to start it. And then how you decided to do a subscription service and things like that.
Hmm. Well, the idea for O-Town Compost came from when I was a subscriber, a college kid in Boston, and I subscribed to a similar service. They were called Bootstrap Compost, and community like these. I would consider O-Town Compost. We're a community composter. It's a business model that's tried and true, and there's community composters in every major metropolitan around the country, but at that time, there was nothing in Orlando, even though like 2 or 3 years prior there was, but they kind of petered out because they were trying to collect by bikes, which sounds, nice, but not in Orlando. It's not really
Yeah. We're
feasible.
too transient.
Yeah. So, I had the idea in the back of my mind, and at the same time, I was kind of getting burned out in my job. I was traveling like 4 or 5 times a month, and it was a very physical job. You're working with, like, every time we go to a new city, we have to hire temps, and they're not really fun people to talk with, and they got their own problems. So uh, I was getting burnt out. So I decided to, give it a try to start this community composting operation, even with some neighbors. And I set up the website with the help of my mom, who is a software engineer. And I, bought maybe like 10 or 20 black buckets. I originally tried stenciling on our logo, but that looked like shit. So I bought some what are those stickers, like the vinyl
Yeah.
stickers, yeah. and and then yeah, it was off to the races. And I remember refreshing my email that first week, hoping I'd get a subscriber. And yeah, I finally got one on like Thanksgiving. And from there, it's just been like slow incremental growth. It started with residential customers, the households, and now we have about 650 residential households that are composting. And that doesn't matter if you're in an apartment or a single family home. But lately, we've been really taking on some larger commercial customers, and that's like restaurants on Park Ave, that's hotels, like the Marriott, and that side of the business has been taken off. And the third area where food waste is generated is events.
Yeah.
I used to be a server for a catering company, and I just remember at the end of every night, the black trash bags filled with just like delicacies, like the best of the best food, just go out to the trash. So I had to figure out a way to capture that too.
Yeah, I noticed that. I've seen that on your social, and I absolutely love it. Like the fact that you guys do the kind of like the green wedding and events. I've also seen that like I've seen some larger events at like the convention center have a
Yeah.
spot for you to be able to compost, as well as also a place like UCF. You guys have different setups. I think it's great. Can you talk to a little bit about the subscription service? Like how often are you guys going to pick up and things like that? I know you guys like do text reminders and things like and ideas of that.
Yeah.
And I believe it's like what, a 5 gallon container with a lid. And it
Uh-huh.
comes in a compostable like plastic bag and whatnot.
Yeah, so our subscription compost service is for residents, and it's really the most convenient way to compost because we're doing a lot of the legwork for you. If you want to compost in your backyard, that's great. I personally do. I have a big open pile, not any of those tumblers or boxes that the city gives you for free. But you gotta expect like flies and insects, and unless you're constantly managing it, which people are usually too busy to do. So we take out the hard work. We give you a 5 gallon bucket and an airtight lid. It's lined with a compostable liner, which is fine in our compost piles. It disappears in about a day, um, in the heated piles. And we collect from your in front of your door. It's like not curbside service, but porch side, door side. We collect it from your door either weekly or biweekly. And the night before, we even send you a text or email reminder, so you don't forget to set out. We also sell different products in our customer portal for like compostable sandwich bags. If you're really looking to go like zero waste, we have all these other products that we accept in our program. But what we're really cognizant of is what we call contamination, and that's mostly plastic, but it can be like wax coated, fast food containers that are
There's the
paper. It can
Starbucks
be,
cups.
yeah, Starbucks cups suck. Um, Rubber bands, cilantro ties, anything that's kind of inert and is not gonna break down very well as plastic is just like gonna fracture and turn into microplastics over time. So you're really looking out for that. But of our subscribers, the contamination stays really low because the residents, they're actually paying their hard-earned money to be composting their food scraps. They're, already usually educated about it and are doing it, for the right reasons. So, and I'll mention the cost of our subscription. For every other week pickups, it's $24 a month, and weekly pickups are $32 a month. But we offer a promo code to get your first month free if you just want to try it out.
Very cool. Where, so out of curiosity, so they come pick up. I'm just kind of intrigued by all this. When they come and pick up, are they just come and picking up, kind of almost like dumping it into the truck, and then you get your container back, or do you get a new one?
Oh,
Is it kind of like a
yeah.
propane swap type thing, or
I'm
how does
so
that work?
glad. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because we take out the dirty part. We swap the bucket completely for a new sanitized bucket and a new liner. And we take it back, like our drivers will pick it up, swap it. We take it back to our warehouse where we aggregate it so we can then make a trip out to the farm in one large group. Um, but we're probably washing like 600-700 buckets a week,
Yeah.
and we wash it with soap and water and bleach solution to really kill it.
Where, yeah, no, I could totally see that. So in order, so it's fully sanitized. So then, how, where, so I guess some of my questions, these are things that obviously, because I'm new to all this, so I'm intrigued by it. I know it's great because I'm seeing, I will say that I love seeing other places are doing more and more of this. And I see, so it, to me, I'm very intrigued by it. So I'm always kind of curious about, like, when you started this, and obviously you had some background, so you've already kind of were talking to folks, but like, how did you even come across to be like, okay, because I mean, obviously you have this idea and you're like, we need to be doing this, I want to create a subscription service, but like, did you become friends with farmers, and they were like, yeah, we'll give you our land so we can, use some of this and be able to compost? Or was it one of those, like, how did all that kind of come about? Like,
Mhm.
how did that process start?
So I would say, when I first started, I was tabling at the Audubon Park Community Market, and that's where I bumped into one farmer, Mike Garcia, who he owns Ever Oak Farms, and he's been a great partner who understands like the benefit of having compost to
Yeah.
like replenish the soil. Um, and then the other business, or the other farm we kind of haul out to, is the fruit farms out in East Orlando, and they're actually like a plant nursery. So they're using a lot of the compost just to kind of fill up pots and for their plants. And
Okay.
eh, you know, I've actually tried to find more farmers, and unfortunately, a lot of farmers are like, they don't really see the benefit in it. They may be using synthetic fertilizers, or they maybe don't have the equipment or the acreage to actually like have large compost piles. But we're doing all right with what we got right now.
No, I think that's great, and it's great to be able to find farmers that actually understand the value of it, because obviously they're getting something out of it. They're helping the environment. And I did read about that, the whole idea of the 20 years. I did see that, and I kind of was like, wow, that's insane, because I live near, I'm somewhat close to the dump, and I'm like a few miles away, but I'm near it. And so I'm amazed by the fact, and I know that one of the things that I've read that would be like, as kind of like a goal of yours, is to actually be able to set up a location inside of there to kind of help, kind of process some of that. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a great site for a compost facility right there on the face of the landfill, as long as it's like graded properly. But no one wants to like really live next to a solid waste facility, even if it's a compost site. People smell with their eyes,
Yeah.
so I think the landfill already smells like methane gas. I mean, that sharp smell when you drive
Mm-hmm.
by, that's the methane coming off. So I think that would be a good site, but it really takes a public-private partnership that I haven't really seen Orange County or the city of Orlando show much interest in yet. They have these lofty diversion goals. Like City of Orlando wants to become zero waste by 2040. Orange County wants to reduce like the per capita waste by, maybe a couple pounds per person. But they're still in the planning stage. That unfortunately they're just pushing it off, and maybe they just don't have the resources to start. I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's kind of that's super sad, especially hearing, the timeline that we have based on all of Orlando and
Yeah.
Orange County all go to one dump. So I definitely
Well, yeah, and they do. There is other regional landfills that our waste goes to, but Orange County is the largest in the state. Orange County landfill is the largest in the state, and to think that it's only got 20 years left, like I think this region, Central Florida, has been growing so fast. They say 1,000 people are moving here a week, so I think it's just like kind of crazy that we could not have a place for our garbage that's local in 20 years or even less potentially. So
yeah, no, that's insane. Out of curiosity, give me an idea, just for like an idea, because I, a a 5 gallon container looks pretty, it's a decent size. So my question, I guess, is and just to give us an idea of context of what it is, like a family, I don't know, a family of three or a family of four, how quickly
mhm,
are they filling that stuff up? Because I
mhm.
would assume we would be surprised on how much waste, because the way I look at it is, and based on my thought process is, anytime you have left, like your leftovers, all those scraps and all those things are going into, you would put that into your compost thing. Every time you have a fruit and the peels of the fruit, those are all things that would go there. I would assume that you would fill that up pretty quick.
Yeah, like if you're a coffee drinker, the
Yep.
paper filter and coffee grounds are going in there every day. If you're a family of four, we typically recommend subscribing for weekly service because you're generating more. But on average, the average customer, whether they're a family of four or just one or two people, they're producing about 11 pounds per week of food waste. And that's probably like 2 pounds a day about.
Yeah.
So a lot of our customers come back and we send out customer surveys. A lot of people say that they're reducing their overall household trash by like upwards of 50 to 80%, and they become more conscious of it too, just by sort of separating it
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah, because you see
um,
it.
yeah, you see it, and it goes in that 5 gallon bucket. And we just, on the commercial side, we just did a pickup for a hotel on Wednesday that was like over 4,000 pounds. So
Wow.
we use the 48-gallon carts, and those are also lined with the compostable liner. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of egregious how these banquet hotels just pump through food, and a lot of it is edible food that's just been overproduced.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely insane, and that's one of those that I think if we and I know there's other cities that are really good at this, in the West Coast and stuff that I've seen that
Mhm.
like just do a very conscious effort, that all the restaurants have it where it's broken up, where you're kind of being able to do like trash, recycling, compostable, and I'm hoping that we kind of see a little bit more of that
Yeah, yeah, and
as well
I
here
don't
in
want
Orlando.
I don't want people to like not feel like they don't have, like, we all have a personal responsibility to try to conserve our resources because they're finite.
Yeah.
Um, and it's unfortunate because in those cities on the West Coast, like I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, and my parents still live there, but they actually are billed on the volume of garbage they're produced. So there's an incentive to reduce the amount of waste you're producing. And it's called a pay as you throw program. But here we don't have that. Everyone
Yeah.
is billed uniformly. And right now it's just people's goodwill and, wanting to live in a healthier environment. But I hope one day, one of the big things I focus on is advocacy. And I hope one day we see that pay as you throw program here in Central Florida.
So let's talk a little bit about on the business side of the things, because like you said, the advocacy. The hardest part obviously is the, like, it's, that I guess I would kind of look at it as like, tell me a little bit about some of the difficulties of, like, one, the entry to market of having to, like, kind of, there's like a certain level of teaching that you're doing, that you're having to do to kind of help some of these folks understand a little bit about why you're providing this, because obviously it's an amazing cause, and something that, is good for Mother Earth. But I'm assuming it's got to be relentless, constantly trying to provide. And I know, because I see it on your social, how you guys are providing, like, the knowledge sharing and the knowledging to, sharing that knowledge to be able to kind of create customers, and provide a little bit of an understanding of why they need to subscribe to something like this. Can we talk a little bit about some of that difficulties,
Yeah.
and what are some of the things that you noticed have been, been effective for you to be able to kind of be able to show, and show people, in the community, of like, why it's important to be able to compost, and why they should be doing something like this?
Yeah, I would say education goes hand in hand with our business. Um, and I just remember like the first 2 or 3 years, I hardly ever said no to an opportunity to present in front of a group or educate people. And we do a lot of tabling at farmers markets or pop-up events. We also, I've built kind of a network of others in the sustainability field here locally in Orlando. And just by rubbing shoulders with the same people, it does. They start to understand like what we're doing, what kind of impact we're making. And I would say the other key is just not being afraid of rejection. For every one of our, 70 or so commercial accounts, we have probably gotten twice or three times as many that have said no or just straight up ghosted us. So, um, it's persistence has played a big role in our success. And we're getting to the point where we're gonna probably have to like arrange to have a marketing budget. It it's kind of hard to do that kind of organic marketing anymore, because I'm just super busy and can't make it out to a lot of these events.
Yeah.
But word of mouth is the number one form of marketing, and if we're successful, people will share this with their neighbors and friends.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. How many people, so obviously when you started, was it just you? When you started, how many people started when you started this, 3 years ago? And where are you kind of out now? Because obviously you guys you have, I know you're always looking for drivers and people like that to be able to drive and pick up, to be able to do the
Mhm.
pickups and stuff like that. Cause I mean, obviously that's the other legwork that you have, is that it's not like you're just, having a spot. It's like you're actually coming and picking up stuff. So
Yeah.
you have clients everywhere.
So yeah, when we started, it was just me, and I had a half-acre property in East Orlando where I was actually composting in my yard, using this ASP method of composting. The ASP stands for um, aerated static piles. So you don't have to turn the piles because you just force air into them. But I quickly, my garage became our warehouse. And I would say shortly after that, though, maybe a year of me just doing it on my own after maybe 40 subscribers, I went out and hired our first driver. And driving is so central to what we do. We're basically like a garbage hauler, but we
Hmm.
only focus on organic waste and are way more hands-on than your garbage hauler. you never see your garbage hauler, your dumpster's just empty. We're the opposite, we try to educate and schedule trainings when we have to. We drop off laminated signs, um, and send text reminders. So, but I would say I couldn't have done this business without all the help I received. One of my right hand woman, this lady named Erin, she started volunteering with us. She was a graduate student and she had to like fulfill some college requirement. So she started volunteering, and we would be like slanging heavy barrels of food waste out of the back of a U-Haul into a wheelbarrow. And then that's when the bins were getting so overflowed, and I knew I needed another option for the food waste.
Yeah.
So I just started mixing the food waste with wood chips and letting it just passively compost in my yard. I
Wow.
mean, it's definitely not recommended, but
Yeah.
it achieves the same purpose. You're recycling food. So and then yeah, Erin now is our general manager. She's a salaried employee, and she's continues to crush it. So I I'm just, yeah, so grateful for all the help. We have about 9 or 10 employees now.
Hey, that's great. I mean, just because especially as you continue growing, I could only imagine the importance of that, especially as you keep the message and subscribers keep going. You obviously need as many people as possible to kind of do this, because it's definitely not one of those things where it's an arduous service. You're basically going, you're picking up, then you got to go take it to the location, or to the farm to be able to do the dumping and all of that. And if there's separations or anything like that, I could totally see that being definitely a tough job, but you're obviously something that is fulfilling, and kind of just a great doing good work
Mhm.
to help our environment.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel like we're just getting started. Waste is it's like a essential service. You can't, it never sleeps, and we can't just like stop doing pickups. So I really hope that we start making some progress on the municipal level. And I mean, we are, because we just started a partnership with the city of Winter Park to start composting the commercial food service businesses on Park Ave. But I hope, Orange County and the city of Orlando take notice, and it's in the cards for the future.
So, Charlie, one of the things that I read, and I saw an Instagram post, and I wanted to ask you about it, because um and it was about having to do with the fact that I saw something that you fed yourself for like 2 years, like straight from like a local grocery store, like dumpster. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah.
How all that works? Cause I mean, for me, it was eye opening, just because I was like, because obviously I know how it works, where if like, I think from what I read, like if one thing is bad, then they like, oh, all of it's bad, a type of thing. But I kind of wanted to hear your story about how you kind of did that, and why you did that. And then just so people have a better understanding.
Yeah, and I think some people thought that I was eating out of a dumpster because I had to, but no, it was actually um, just because I had the opportunity, and I thought it was a great way to save money. And it was fun. Like, I was addicted to going to that grocery store dumpster. Kind of after 9 p.m. is when the store would close, and I would bring my headlamp, and just be able. I was taking away 50, 60 pounds a night.
Of what though? Was it vegetables,
Yeah.
fruits? What was it?
So it was a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, because they package oranges in a dozen, or like bananas. As soon as they start getting brown spots, they take them off the shelf. But like, if they pack oranges in a dozen and one of them goes bad, they just throw out the whole dozen. And same is true for vegetables and other stuff. I would find the staples like pasta, rice. One of my biggest scores was like 50 dark chocolate bars, a couple bottles of wine occasionally if I
Really?
was lucky. Um, Basically, so there's two reasons why our grocery stores in the United States like throw away perfectly good food. One is expiration dates or best buy dates, which are not based in science at all. They're just kind of like best guesses that but unfortunately, as soon as it passes that date, they don't think anyone is going to be willing to buy it. They don't try to reduce the price. They just 86 it or write it off, and throw it in the dumpster so they can get the tax deduction. Um, the other reason I think a big reason why I'd find like perfectly good you know, packs of bottled water and um, dark chocolate, different stuff, was because they couldn't manage their inventory. Like there's just mistakes in inventory. They might over order something, and to clear space on the shelf, they gotta chuck it. And then the last thing is like if you've ever done this at the grocery store where you bring something up to the counter and change your mind about it, so you set it aside. If it's a refrigerated product, or even if it's not, sometimes they'll just write it off and throw it away. So I did this for like 2 years straight, and I actually logged the pounds that I was diverting, and I diverted probably let's see, about 4,000 pounds,
Wow.
no, 8,000 pounds total for the 2 years. And I built like a community at the dumpster. I would be there, and like some homeless guys would be there. One lady from Argentina who was living out of her car. I met a couple like people with livestock or horses that were just diving for the vegetables they could feed their livestock with. And most importantly, it just was an eye opener. And I knew like that was right at the precipice of starting O-Town Compost too. So that combined with other things I mentioned, like I don't know how I could have taken a job in another field.
So you don't have to tell me. Obviously, I don't want to know the supermarket, but was this when you did this? Was this in
Yeah, they're trying
Orlando?
to blow up my spot. And I was
Yeah,
joking.
no, no. Was it in Orlando or was this when you were like in Portland or where was this at? Like what city was this
Yeah,
in?
this was in East Orlando.
Holy cow. I'm in shock
And
because I really wish there was like a way to have like some kind of way to like I don't know, a way to have it where you can like set it aside and people can like, we set it aside on the
mhm,
back and it's, you take or go on your own, but that way at least it's like set aside in a container or something where people can just
yeah.
go and grab.
And there's a
Yeah.
lot of greenwashing from grocery stores. Every grocery store I talk to, I ask if they want to compost their food waste. They'll usually say, "Oh, no, no, we don't have food waste." Like one time, I was at this grocery store where I dumpster dived. I went through the front this time and was shopping like a normal human being. But they weren't. The regional managers were there, and I went up to him and said, "Hey, like I own a composting business. Are you interested in diverting your food waste?" And the first thing they said was, "Oh, we don't. We work with Second Harvest, and we don't really have food waste." And sure, that's probably true, but on a small scale, they're not gonna give Second Harvest like perishable items, and they're not gonna give them like produce that has some bad oranges or apples.
Yeah.
So, you know, th- it's unfortunate because they're not even aware that this is a problem. And I also worry that they'll, be spiteful about it and put a lock on the dumpster, or change to a compacting dumpster, which the vast majority of grocery stores just have compactors. So there's no way to like for anyone to dumpster dive,
Yeah.
and it all just gets smushed up.
Wow. What so obviously it's so important, like I mean, I'm assuming through these past few years what you're doing, what you're creating, things like that, there's obviously a huge importance when it comes to like support and mentorship, like to help you along the way, like who have been some of the folks, like some of the mentors or some of the folks that have helped you along the way, because obviously you're, technic I guess proverbially you're climbing the, you're climbing the trash heaps to try to help and grow at the same time, grow your business, but at the same time, you're kind of climbing all of this, and there's got to be people that are got to be hopefully helping you along the
Yeah.
way. What Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, and you're right. Like we are balancing growing our business because this type of work does have a lot of cost to it. And we're not by far like that profitable. The first 3 years, I was paying myself hardly anything. But I would say that I couldn't have done this without mentorship from John Rivers, the owner of Four Rivers Smokehouse, who
Yeah.
was my paired up mentor when I went through the Rollins Rally Business Accelerator program. And his 8 smokehouses that are in the local area are all customers, and we're some of the first commercial customers. Him and his wife subscribe for the residential service.
He has a
um,
farm too, right? Doesn't he have a farm?
yeah, so
Is it Four
his
Roots? Is that what it is?
exactly, Four
Okay.
Roots is his foundation, and it's going to be a 20-acre farm campus that's under construction right now in the new packing district. And that's
Awesome.
where our warehouse is. We're under the same roof as Four Roots, and it always makes for like a cool environment. It's like a co-op where there's all these businesses in the same warehouse. And one of my other mentors is a guy named Gary Bilbro, who started his own composting company in Charleston, South Carolina. He now works for EcoSafe Zero Waste, which are the sellers of the compostable liners that we buy. So,
Okay.
but he has so much knowledge. If I'm ever in a pinch, I'll pick up the phone and call him.
No, and I think that's so important, especially when you're starting a business, to be able to find people that understand what you're trying to do, and at the same time be able to, kind of get some of that where they're willing to share that knowledge, and also at the same time be able to help you along the way, whether it's opportunities or, situations where they're like, hey, this may be a great opportunity for you. And it sounds like, kind of, I'm assuming, would Four Roots become like a spot where you'd be able to also do composting aside from the 2 other farms
Yeah.
that you're going to be, that you're currently at right now?
Yeah, actually, O-Town Compost is donating the compost site for the Four Roots Farm campus, and we're just in the early design stages of putting that together. But it'll be like a benefit for us as well
Yeah.
because we'll be able to compost 6,000 pounds a week, which may sound like a lot, but that's like only like 5% of our total. Um, but it's still a demonstration site.
Yeah.
It's great marketing. A lot of people are going to be learn about how it works. I mean, I'm a lucky son of a gun to be associated with Four Roots.
Well, I mean, and at the same time, though, I think, I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, what you're trying to do and trying to create. And I think all, I mean, I would love to say any farmer who's listening that wants to kind of do this, obviously reach out to Charlie. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the number. I'm not sure how many farmers are listening that have land, but I definitely think that, and the more people that can hear this, or maybe know of someone that maybe it'll kind of help with word of mouth, whether they're either becoming subscribers or they want to learn a little bit more about it. I mean, that's kind of where it kind of went. I actually found out because one of your employees actually reached out to me, and told me about, and I had known about you guys, and he's like, oh, I think Charlie would be a great guest on your show. And I was like, And I was like, yeah, you would. I was like, I would love to know
Oh,
more about this because I find it very interesting. And obviously I'm a resident of Orlando, and when I hear things like 20 years, I won't there we may have trash issues. That's something that obviously perks up my ears, and I definitely want to know more about it because I think it's something that is not just here in Florida. It's a whole earth thing that I think everyone should be able to kind of be able to have a better understanding of it. So I
yeah.
think that's
Thanks for bringing light to this issue.
no, man, my pleasure, my pleasure. What give give what well I guess we'll do this. What do you think? I'll have two more questions and then we'll wrap up. I guess my first one is what do you think has been some of the success, like what's been some of the recipes of success that you've had? Obviously mentorship, I think being able to find a good mentor is a big one, but what do you think are some other things that you've realized or been able to do that you think have been successful steps that would maybe help another small business or another person that would kind of is thinking about doing some kind of service? What do you think are some of the recipes for success that you've had?
Mhm. Yeah, and I already mentioned the persistence, not being afraid of no, hearing no. But I think treating my employees really well and paying like above, the average, not above minimum, because minimum is ridiculous, but above like the average. And not only does that means I'm giving up wages for myself. That means I'm possibly giving up profit. And my mindset though has always been like we're building something much bigger than this short term kind of view. So I need to get people who are committed to the cause and make sure they're happy and comfortable and just let them like work hard for the business and help help me achieve this mission. um, and it runs in parallel with our whole waste problem is we're very short-sighted and we're not thinking about 20 years from now when the landfill is at capacity. We're not thinking about how the resources and the food we're growing is like finite. The soil we're using to grow that food is we only have so much left of it. We're depleting topsoil at a unsustainable rate. um, so just thinking like not short term but thinking long term and just being okay with giving up some things that really aren't that important. Like when you pass away you can't like spend your money or anything. So
Yeah. No, I totally get that. What advice would you give someone who wants to start something?
yeah, it's actually funny is one of our employees is leaving to go move up to North Carolina, and he's actually starting a community composting business in a small town outside of Asheville. And I was like, "Hey, how'd you learn how to do that?" And he's like, "From working here." But I can't be mad because that's where I learned it from. Is another community composter. I wasn't the genius with this original idea.
Yeah.
But I would say I think working a 9 to 5 in the industry in the industry that I'm now in, the waste industry, was really helpful to kind of it really like helped me hone in on the things that are going to work and not have this lofty pie in the sky idea. um, it helped me with being able to talk the talk. Like when I'm talking with municipalities, they rattle off something in the municipal code about not having a franchise agreement for, the collection of recoverable materials. And you know, it it's not like I've already kind of learned a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, I mean, I would say just being persistent and just following your passion is great things to have that'll just keep you moving forward even as you have some bad days too.
How can people learn more about O-Town Compost and they can follow you? Also, if they're interested, maybe they're having an event and they want to have do a subscription, or maybe they want to do a green event. How can people follow you and be able to subscribe and learn more about what you guys are doing at O-Town Compost?
Yeah, our website is www.o-towncompost.com. I encourage people to subscribe and start diverting your food waste at home. You'll, be joining our compost community, but you also get two 40 pounds or 2 shares of finished compost per year if you like to garden, or you can just donate your share to the Four Roots Farm Campus or one of our farm partners. Use the promo code banana peel. That's one word for $24 off your first month. And yeah, if you have a green event you want to reduce the waste at, usually 80% of the waste at a wedding or event is organic waste. So we can really make a big impact together. And check that out on our website. Our Instagram is O-Town Compost as well, Facebook as well.
That's perfect. Charlie, I really do appreciate you being on. I think it's what you're doing is great stuff, and I've been more intrigued after like listening, because it's one of those things where I think we don't realize it or we don't think about it until you start seeing, and then when you start reading a little bit more, you're like, oh, I wasn't aware of this, or I thought I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But then you kind of start realizing what other places are doing, and all of that. It kind of it definitely puts a little bit of a light to it. So hopefully I can help a little bit with that.
Yeah, for
I appreciate
sure.
you very much for being on. That's our show for today. Thank you so much to Charlie Pioli of O-Town Compost for being on and having lunch with me. Don't worry, anything left over we'll compost and put in a bucket. But definitely make sure to check them out online. If you're interested, want to know more, I definitely think you should send them a message, get a little bit more information. They have a good area of frequently asked questions that you can also read on their website. If you enjoyed the show, definitely make sure to subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends. If you want to support me, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads. Do some shopping. Obviously, I like seeing sandwich selfies and all of that. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion.